Hi everyone, welcome to my channel or welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Grace, it's lovely to have you. I'm a yoga teacher and today I'm going to guide you through a short little sequence of poses that are hopefully going to help you alleviate the symptoms of DOMS. If you're not sure what DOMS are, it stands for delayed onset muscle soreness, and it's that feeling that you get a day, maybe a couple of days after an intense workout. Now, goes without saying, make sure that you're training correctly. If you're getting DOMS all the time, it's probably not the best sign. It's not always an indicator of an effective or good workout. So if you're unsure about what you're doing and whether what you're doing is correct for you, make sure you speak to a fitness professional about it, as well as making sure you're getting plenty of water, lots of sleep and correct nutrition, because that is the way our bodies heal. We're going to begin our practice today in ragdoll pose, and as we move through the practice I am going to give you options to use blocks, yoga props, if you have access to them. If you don't, then it's no big deal, don't worry. So like I said, let's come up into ragdoll, one of my favourite poses. We'll come to the middle of our mats, we'll stand with the feet out slightly wider than hip width. Maybe roll those shoulders, roll your neck out a little bit. And I invite you today to move nice and slowly, maybe take a little sway side to side. Try not to rush through any of the poses, and take deep, calming breaths. We'll let the arms hang nice and heavy. Close your eyes, drop your chin to your chest, allow your body to just roll forward. Make your shoulders heavy, your arms heavy. And as we curl down, just allow gravity to do the work here. Take your time on this descent. And once we get into this forward fold position, take a bend in your knees. Now what tends to happen here is we bend too deeply into the knees, so this actually feels a bit more like a squat. So if this is you and you're feeling this loads in the legs and the hips, almost like a strengthening kind of pose, I want you to straighten your legs as much as you can. And if that alters how low we go with the upper back and the torso, don't worry. Ideally what I want you to work towards is micro bending the knees, so softening the knees, sliding the belly onto the thighs, and that'll give you a really nice shelf almost with the legs to just rest against. Take hold of the elbows to add in a little bit more of a stretch to the shoulders and the lats. Maybe start to move the head a little, so nod it yes, slowly. Shake it now. And then maybe sway from side to side. And maybe this is when you start getting a bit more feedback from the body. We start noticing if we're feeling it most in the hamstrings, in the lower back. Maybe this doesn't feel good for you today. Maybe you want to just hang out in stillness. That's totally fine. And keeping those eyes closed, we'll take a few more breaths. So as you inhale, I invite you to feel the sensation of the belly pushing to the thighs. And as you exhale, feel yourself drop over those legs, maybe a centimetre lower, deeper into the pose. Nice work. Gently and slowly, we'll release the hands onto the mat, just in front of the shoulders, bending the knees, and come down into a tabletop pose, nice and slow. And once you get there, wiggle it out if you want to, so a little twist from side to side, keeping the fingers spread wide, and just take a breath in your tabletop to reset, making sure we're not collapsing through the shoulders, we're pushing strong, and we're keeping the core switched on. Now slowly we'll start to just mobilise those wrists a little, so send your shoulders in circles over the fingertips. Not going for a really big range of movement here, just enough so you can feel it in the back of the wrists. Maybe if you're anything like me, you have quite clicky joints, so maybe this elicits a little bit of a clicking sound as you move. Make sure you reverse the direction of those circles. Really, it's your call here. Take these circles as wide as you want, or maybe just making small little circles over the hands. Cool, bring yourself through center, and let's intensify that wrist stretch a little. Turn both hands out in an anti-clockwise direction, so both of your wrist creases are pointing forward. Try and take your weight in the fingertips as well as the heels of the hands. Don't just dump it down, and just slide your hips back a little bit in space. Remember to breathe as deeply as you can. The deeper you breathe here in these more intense stretches, the easier it's going to be to soften into them and in turn hold them a bit longer, which is obviously good if we want to work on improving our mobility and our flexibility. Now, if you're like me, if you spend a lot of time gripping a barbell or gripping dumbbells, gripping anything really, then you probably get quite tight forearms. So this is a stretch I like to include in my own personal practice quite a lot. See if we can rock those hips back 1 more inch while keeping the heels of the hands grounded. Take another breath. And then rotate the hands back so the fingers are facing forward. And we'll slide the knees together here and gently come to sit back down on the heels. Ooh, big stretch. Now, if this already feels super intense for you, this is where we can start using our blocks. So I'd advise you use a thinner block or thinner book if you have one. And we're going to try and come to sit back on the heels. So if you can, brilliant, just sit here, bum on the heels for a few breaths. But if you're somewhere here and we're really feeling it's becoming 10 out of 10 in the knees and the quads, I want you to support yourself with the block. So pop it underneath your heels. So when you come to sit back on the heels, you've got a bit more support. And hopefully this should take that 9, 10 out of 10 down a little bit. So if we're sat here on the heels, with or without the block, we'll bring the hands onto the knees and just close the eyes, soften your shoulders, and we'll spend a few breaths here. Remember, as I said at the beginning of this practice, we just want to breathe and allow the body to soften into these shapes. So try not to use too much force or push yourself. And while we're here, we're going to work into those shoulders a little bit. So gently reach up your left hand over your head. You're going to bend at your elbow to send that left hand to the back of the shoulders, and then with your right hand just gently push back, a little stretch for the triceps. Hold a few breaths. Try and resist that push with your hand a little bit if you can. So at the same time as we're pushing the elbow back, we're pushing the elbow forward as well. Gently release all the way out. Maybe shake out the shoulders, roll them out a little, and then switch sides. Bring your right hand up, bend, and lightly push. You really, really don't want to go for a super, super intense stretch here. I don't want us to bind the hands or go into any variation like that. Just gently stretch everything out. Make sure you're breathing. We'll take 1 more cycle of breath here. And then release. Shake out the shoulders, the wrists a little bit if we need to. And if you're on your block, I want you to come off the block now. If it feels comfortable to do so, stay sat down on your heels. Now, if it doesn't, maybe skip this next pose, because we're going to stretch out the ankles and the shins a little bit. So if you want to, just try your best to hold here. Work on building that flexibility. But if we're already down on the heels and we're feeling good here, hands on either side of the knees. We're going to squeeze the knees to the chest as we roll onto the tops of the feet. So as you breathe out, squeeze those knees in, push the feet down, and then release. So we'll just take a few of these, push into the hands, squeeze knees to chest. There go my clicky joints again. If you're anything like me, Everything might be clicking. That's fine, it's all good. As long as it doesn't hurt, it's all okay. Big stretch for the front of the feet, the shins. Keep squeezing, keep pushing. We'll go for one more and we'll hold at the top. So squeeze and hold for 3. Keep breathing. 2. And 1. Release all the way down. Walk your hands forward wherever you are, or release from the pose if you need to. Extend one leg back and then the other. Maybe make circles with the knees. Nice work, everyone. From here, let's work into that spine a little bit. Nice and simple, cat-cow. I invite you to tuck the toes underneath here. Drop your belly, lift your chin on the inhale. Come up into cow and exhale into cat. Try not to rush through. Stay with the flow of your breath. Maybe close your eyes. One more. And release. Keep the toes curled under. Come back to that neutral tabletop. Take a full inhale. And on our exhale, we'll lift the hips nice and slow. Come to down dog. Now I really invite you today, especially with the nature of this sequence, to keep your knees bent. Maybe one by one straightening out. We're really not trying to work the heels to the mat. We're just trying to bring a little bit more space into the body, trying to mobilize. So don't put too much pressure on yourself to get the heels flat today, or ever for that matter. And if we want to feel this a little more in the chest, think about driving belly to thighs, pushing through the arms and sending the head through the upper arms. Not always the most optimal way to do down dog, but good if we want to stretch out through the pecs. Nice work. Slowly soften the knees, lower back down. And let's work into those hips a little bit here. So take it nice and easy. Step your right foot forward between the thumbs and we'll come into a low lunge position. So set yourself up with right knee stacked on top of right ankle and maybe take a little rock forwards and backwards here. Straighten out through the leg. Feel into the hamstring. No pressure to straighten out completely. Okay, nice. Bring yourself back into your low lunge position. Keep the toes curled under for now. We're going to lift the torso up and interlace the fingers. Take a breath in, push your palms into the thigh, and on our exhale we're going to slide that knee forward, keeping the heel pushing into the mat. So we should feel this a little bit in the back hip flexors and maybe in the front calf as well. You can add weight to this stretch if you want to by weighting the front knee. Maybe you've got a kettlebell, a dumbbell at home that you can use to add a bit more resistance to this. A bit more of a deep stretch. Breathe into your belly. Let's hold. A few more here. One more breath, keep that heel pushing down. Nice work. Now slowly reset, come back to your lunge position. Take a full breath in, and then as we exhale, we're going to sink that left hand down, untuck the back toes, and take our right foot to the long edge of the mat, slightly pointing the toes off the mat, and giving ourselves a bit more space to slide the hips forward and that back knee away. From here, we'll come into our twisted lizard pose. So supporting yourself mainly with your left hand, gently push your right leg away so the right big toe starts to lift. And as you do that, lift your chest. Again, should feel this a bit more intensely in the back hip flexors. If you want to add on a little bit more mobility through the upper body, reach up with your right arm as you inhale. Exhale, maybe reach back, look back if you want to. Just an option. You can stay with hand on the knee if you want to. Now keep breathing. And every time you exhale, just soften into the shape a little bit more. For 2. Last 1. Well done. Bring that foot and hand through centre. Walk the right foot to the middle of your mat. Take a big breath in, tuck those back toes underneath, and we'll just lift the back knee off the mat. Full inhale, come up into your high lunge position, just using this as a bit of a transition. Find a little bit of stability in your practice today. Really reach up, full breath in, and then exhale, drop the hands, step back on your right foot, come to downward facing dog. Again, no pressure to straighten those legs, bend the knees if we need. Push head through upper arms, breathe. Now slowly soften down onto the knees. Step the left foot forward this time. Finding your low lunge position. Feel free to wiggle it out a bit, forwards and backwards. Keeping in mind one side might feel a little bit more tight than the other. Nice, bring yourself through centre. Keep the back toes tucked for stability. Lift your torso upwards, stretching out through the calf. Interlace your fingers, palms push to thigh, and then slide the hips forward, slide the knee forward. Keep your left heel grounded. Keep your chest lifted. Try not to collapse over that leg. Remember, deep, full, steady breaths. One more. Well done. Slowly reset and drop your right hand to your mat this time. Point the toes back. Take the left foot out, the knee away. Open up that space in the hips. Twisted lizard. Maybe take a sighing out breath as we push left knee out to the side. Maybe reach, maybe open. Remember, these are just options. If you feel like you don't want to take them, then that's all good. It's all okay. Soften into it as you exhale. Try and hold as you inhale. Well done. We'll reset, bring everything up through centre. Walk your left foot to the middle, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Full breath in, lift the arms, high lunge, engage your core, maybe look up, deep breath in. Exhale, hands to the mat, back into downward facing dog. Sighing out breath if you need to. Lift all the way up onto your tippy toes. And then soften the knees once more. We're dropping them to the mat. I'm going to use a block here just for a bit of support. But you don't have to if you don't want to. The toes are coming together. The knees are coming out to the long edge of the mat. We're going to push into wide-legged child's pose. So very similar sort of idea here as that first pose we did, sitting back on the heels. If you feel that's quite uncomfortable and you want to close that gap between the bum and the heels, use your props. Use a block, a book, cushion maybe, but don't make the focus of this pose getting the heels and the hips to touch, just finding a shape that works for you. So this is how we'll enter. Send the bum to the heels. Drop your forearms to either side of your block and then your forehead, and then feel free to readjust just to find a spot that works for you. And close your eyes and just try and relax. And often with yoga poses like Balasana, child's pose, very passive poses, it takes a while for us to really feel where the pose is working us the most. So just try and breathe into whatever sensation's coming up for you now. Make Make sure you're not clenching your jaw. We'll take a few more deep cycles of breath here. And slowly, using your hands, push your way back up, guide those knees in. I'm going to use the block one more time. You're going to turn to face the long edge of your mat and open your arms out to your legs. You can open your arms out in a minute if you want to as well. Your legs out to a wide sort of V shape, a straddle pose. I'm going to pop the block on second setting. And all I'm going to do is flex the toes to my face and take my hands into a little tented shape and send them behind me. I'll take a full breath in, sit up tall, and as we sit up, I invite you to just shuffle your hips forward a little so you can really feel the weight come into your sitting bones and lean forwards. You'll feel this a lot down the inside of your legs. And if there's space to, bring your forearms down, maybe resting your chin on a block in front of you. If there's no space to do that, then no worries. We don't have to use a block, just an option. If we want to, keep sitting up and keep leaning forwards. Just find a variation of the pose that feels comfortable for you and feels okay to hold for a few deep cycles of breath. Maybe just have a little play here. Notice what happens in this pose when we soften the feet and soften the legs versus what happens when we flex the feet and engage the quads. So find that sensation where you lift your kneecaps. Notice how the shape changes for your body. Couple more breaths. Last one. Great, well done. Using your hands, gently push your way up to seated. We'll slide those legs together and give them a little bit of a tap out on the mat. Cross your legs in. Maybe here, hands on the knees, just roll out your neck gently. Notice if anywhere's feeling a little bit sticky or tight, feel free to hold there just for a breath. Maybe roll out the shoulders one more time. And thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you found this video useful. I really hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to give the video a like and leave a comment down below. Until I see you again, Namaste.